Well, this was definitely a movie. Unintentionally funny. Quite possibly the worst chemistry between friends I've ever seen in a movie. I couldn't recommend it enough. Makes zero fucking sense, but it's entertaining. This is the funniest movie I've ever seen. Why did he make a hand smoothie? I rewatched this because I couldn't remember what happened. Frankly, it should have stayed that way. I love this movie, but they could have just not called that day. I don't give a fuck what y'all say. Unfriended crawled so searching and missing could run. This happened to me on Zoom once. Here I thought this would be a message to not click so much goddamn links. The worst group of friends and the most brain-dead cast of character ever put into cinema. 5 out of 10. If AI was real in 2014, this would have just been a documentary. LOL, just turn your laptop off. Damn, Laura. Tell me I'm basic, but this film will always be my comfort horror story movie of all time. This one made shit out of everyone. That's why it's so famous. Anyone who hates on this film just doesn't get it. Our GC name has been Leaky Lore since we watched it. This movie is fucking iconic. I love it. I must admit, it's not scary at all. However, I rewatched it approximately 2 billion times a day because I fuck with the vibe. It's giving me major 2015 vibes, lol. Skype horror, slow pace with lots of reading. Why am I scared? Hurts too much. Probably would have liked it more if the screen didn't glitch every 2 seconds. Surprised myself with how much I didn't hate it. Overall, felt like a creepypasta in the way creepypastas aren't very good, very bad, or very creepy, but will still hit your brain with a rush that only low nutrition slop can provide. It's a slumber party movie at its best, which is a perfectly fine thing to be. OMG, it sucks so bad. Like, just turn your computer off or like go to therapy. Like, don't unalive yourself over stupid shit. Y'all, I'm drunk as fuck right now, but this movie sucked and the brown-haired girl was so annoying. Like, stop screaming and log off. Gotta be like top 10 okay movies ever. I couldn't tell if this was satire or not. Yeah, bro, I don't know, man. She kinda doesn't know how to work a computer, and that was the most terrifying and frustrating part. All of them were annoying, like, damn. Stupid fucking movie. I've seen my grandma work a computer better than the protagonist of this film. This is the fucking funniest movie ever. No one knows how a computer works. Everyone's a dumb bitch. Also, she goes on chat roulette to get someone to call the police. The most unrealistic bit in the movie is that she saw 0 dicks while on that hell site. It made me laugh because there was the dramatic situation and then the teen wolf window. Blair is probably the least amicable protagonist I've ever had the displeasure of experiencing. These kids are screaming bloody murder on Skype and their parents do not give a fuck, apparently. I love a remake where they're all in PlayStation party chat playing Fortnite. Low-key started to think cyberbullying isn't very cool. A cautionary tale against pooping your pants. What a twisted, engaging, imaginative little treat. If this film has one fan, I'm that one fan. I love this movie. I wish this happened to me, and I really mean that. You guys don't get it, like I do. It was really funny. Her scream was funny. I have a question. If you shit your pants on video, would you unalive yourself? Something to think about. I watched this a while back, but completely forgot to log it. Watched it with a friend for gits and shiggles, and it was one of those movies where it's so bad it's good. Like stupid yet entertaining. Wouldn't watch it again, but it was fun while it lasted. Just so trashy. Just so 2014. I fucking love it.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Ever since it first premiered in 2014, people seem to be very confused about Leo Gabrielle's Unfriended. Originally titled Cybernatural, the film is told from our protagonist Blair Lily's perspective. And I mean that literally. The entire film is captured through Blair's computer screen. Now, as many of you know, I came of age during the 2010s. I was actually in my junior year of high school when this movie came out and was technically around the same age as the characters in this movie. This movie was targeted towards my generation. It came out during the panic over cyberbullying, a seemingly new phenomenon brought about by the rising popularity of social media platforms like MySpace and Facebook. Speaking of, this was also when Facebook was entering its peak. Every teen had a Facebook account and everyone was posting shit like there was no tomorrow. And social media websites were not something adults really took seriously. And to be honest, we didn't really either. So when the trailer for Unfriended dropped, everyone was kind of like, huh? A movie that takes place on a computer? But why? Before the movie came out, most people I knew had already decided that the movie was inherently stupid based on that concept alone. Unfriended was not the first film to take place on the internet though. There was a movie from 2002 called The Collingswood Story, directed by Michael Costanza, that told his story via video chat. In 2013, there was a movie called The Den, a movie about a woman named Elizabeth, who goes on to this chat roulette kind of social media site from hell. But in 2014, when Unfriended was released, despite its mixed reviews, it was popular, and considering it was made on a $1 million budget with a cast full of mostly unknown actors, that's a pretty big feat. But it's still a movie that takes place on a screen. If you read reviews for Unfriended, many of the people who dislike the film make similar critiques, and people who love the film seem to have understood it for what it was. And Unfriended is a very misunderstood movie. Yes, we can all agree that the film title wasn't great. Although Cybernatural is not better, we can all agree that the characters are terrible. We can agree that the dialogue is cringy at times.
Beat your ass any goddamn day if you come in for here, bitch.
Sure. I'm so
Listen, we're not ghetto.
No, okay, how about this?
We can agree that the ending sucked, and we can also agree that the kills were very funny. Dying by blender is certainly a unique feature of this horror film. From what I could see, many of the people who felt this movie was boring would reduce it to just a movie where you hear a bunch of clicks and have to do a ton of reading. It's true that this is a movie where you cannot be half in and half out. It requires your full attention, as the movie is only an hour and 16 minutes, excluding the end credits, and everything that happens on screen is relevant. But that is precisely why I feel people's criticisms can be unfair. It's not like you're just watching Blair click through tabs that have no bearing on the plot. All the tabs she clicks on are important. All the conversations she has are important for the story. I can understand if the screen life genre is just boring to you. Found footage movies in general have never really been my favorite. And I also just don't like movies about ghosts. I don't believe in them, they don't really scare me, and most possession movies just don't do it for me. But Unfriended was a little different.
You calling my girlfriend babe for?
Hey, Mitch, who's your buddy?
Get off. What?
Who's your buddy?
That's not.
What kind of
With
sex
us.
were you guys having?
But you guys brought that in.
Were you having a
Wasn't us.
three-way?
Unfriended starts off innocently enough with our main protagonist watching a suicide video on LiveLeak. This video features an anonymous person recording a teen girl by the name of Laura Barnes unaliving herself on school grounds. Our protagonist, whom we have yet to meet, clicks on the YouTube link the website provides as the catalyst that led to Laura's death. The video shows Laura at some late night party in what appears to be a trailer park. The late Laura is seen arguing with a girl named Val. It cuts to her lying on a table drunk as some guy is on top of her, and then this transitions to the camera person heading over to a white trailer. Before we can see what is beside it, the video is paused when our protagonist receives a call via Skype. This is when we officially meet our final girl, Blair Lilly, the lady behind the screen we're looking at. We also meet her boyfriend, Mitch. The two have some tame but also kinky cyber sex that involves a giant kitchen knife and some cheesy sex talk.
4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate your boobies? Your boobies. Yeah.
Blair tells Mitch that she wants their first time to be on prom night, and Mitch wants a little teaser before that happens. Except he isn't going to see shit because their friends enter the call and it's all downhill from here. Unfriended is very typical in the way teens are usually written in horror movies. They're terrible, and you can't wait for them to die. But who are these friends? Well, we have Adam, a close friend of Mitch, Jess and Ken, who seem to be friends with each other, and later Blair adds a girl named Val, but no one likes her.
The only person that likes Val is
It's
Val.
Val, yeah. You just get me, Jess.
So, a small tangent, but this movie reminded me why I don't do friend groups anymore. There's just always drama and gossipy shit that we see with Val in this movie. And as someone who is extremely conflict averse, I just steer clear of joining friend groups ever. Back to the movie. So things start getting peculiar when Blair receives a Facebook message from Laura Barnes' Facebook account. She understandably assumes someone just hacked her account and asks who is doing this. During the Skype call, they also notice a faceless profile by the name of Billie227 in their chat. They assume it's a glitch, but when they hang up and call back, they see that they're still there and are unable to hang up on them. Meanwhile, Blair tries to memorialize Laura's Facebook page but isn't able to, and finds that she keeps being brought back to some forum warning people not to read messages from the dead. Blair thinks this is possibly Val fucking with her or something, so she adds her to the call. Blair and Jess come across some unflattering photos of Val posted to Jess's page. Val obviously obviously gets pissed the fuck off and calls Jess a trashy little bitch. They argue. Blair, trying to placate both sides, tells them, "Listen, we're not ghetto." Jess deletes the photos, but the photos are then moved to Adam's account. Billie227 instigates an argument between the girls by pitting them against each other. When Val gets a threatening private message from Billie, she calls the police and threatens Ken, who she thinks is Billie, before abruptly hanging up. We finally see what Billie sent to Val when Blair gets an email from Billie with a link to an IG post, which contains a screenshot of a conversation between Val and Laura. In the text, Laura begs Val to remove the aforementioned video, and Val responding cruelly by saying, "Here's a thought. Why don't you just unalive yourself?" And this is when Ken famously gives his Ken opinion, which is that Laura was a, quote, big bully and deserved all the shit she got from that video that we still haven't seen the full length of. Blair and Adam lightly chastise him for this, and he apologizes for his tasteless comment. Though Mitch seems to quietly agree with him when Blair sends him a text expressing disagreement over the Ken opinion. He sends her a link to a YouTube video that includes Laura facing the camera and calling all of her bullies cunts and bitches. Though we don't see everything because Blair is trying her internet's patience. Like, the shit will barely load. Like, damn, I thought I had shitty internet. Something I forgot to mention was that Blair and Laura used to be friends, like, from the sandbox. And so she tells Mitch that she knows her better than him, and that she was dealing with family stuff, though she doesn't specify what. So Blair is ready to sign off now, but Billie isn't, and has some unfinished business, and sends Blair another Facebook message telling her that if they hang up, life is gonna hang up on them. Val rejoins the call, but is silent and eerily staring at the camera with an emotionless face, unblinking eyes, and a motionless body. The gang notices that the mirror behind her is shattered. What they don't notice is the bottle of bleach resting next to her. The computer falls over, and we see the legs of police officers enter the bathroom. They overhear the officer call in a 1055, which is police code for unaliving. Fucking YouTube, I swear. But Blair also mentions that Val has a history of struggling with seizures, and so they comfortably accept that conclusion. Billie227 then messages Blair and says she wants to expose their dirty little secrets, and sends her a meme of Blair and Adam together in bed, with one saying, "Not your boyfriend," and another saying, "He touch you good." Yeah, so Laura's humor is so unfunny that it's almost like that's part of the torture. This is when Blair is like, "We gotta get this dude out of here like yesterday." According to the Wikipedia summary, the other characters are also sent a private message that contains some secret thing they did that she's threatening to expose. I wish we could have found out somehow what that was, because Ken is the main character who we know the least about, and I wonder how much he contributed to the bullying. Billie227 says they want to play a game, and so Ken sends everyone an email with a link titled "Just a Game" that turns out to actually be some antivirus program that he hopes will remove Billie/Laura from the chat. After some extremely intense downloading, they naively think they've gotten rid of her, but she's back almost as soon as she left, but this time, she's somewhere else. Billie227's camera turns on, and we see that the camera appears to be behind a laundry basket or something. Jess is the first to notice that the camera is actually in Ken's room, and when he clears a pathway to see what it is, he sees something and stares at it in absolute horror before their Skype call cuts out along with the Wi-Fi. He calls back and the gang watch him get blendered to death. One of the most disappointing things about this movie is that we do not even get a hint at what exactly he saw. But Jacob Wasaki did a pretty good job of looking horrified, and that scene always kind of creeps me out. Laura shows the audience what these bitches did to her, and we see that the camera person recorded a passed out Laura who has shat and pissed on herself. Yep, that's what it was. Blair DMs Laura saying they had nothing to do with that, but Laura sends her screenshots of sock puppet accounts harassing Laura for this video. Blair is ready to continue lying before remembering the forum post that told her the only way to free yourself is to confess. So she apologizes and says they were just joking and that they are good people, and Laura is ready to put those words to the test. Now the gang knows that Billie227 is not fucking around with them, and they are forced to play a nice game of never have I ever. Except this one has a countdown, and the ones who aren't ready to confess to their sins will die for their sins instead. Laura starts off with some softballs, the first one alluding to someone who read a rumor about Blair having an ED. Jess doesn't waste any time before putting a finger down, and this upsets Blair, as Jess apparently told her that it was Val. The next question doesn't make things better between them when Blair puts a finger down for crashing Jess's mom's car while under the influence. It is now Mitch's turn to put down some fingers when he confesses to both making out with Laura last year, though he says she was the aggressor, and selling Adam out to the cops for selling the devil's lettuce.
I almost had a record. My fucking dad almost disowned me for that.
Dude, it was gonna be both of us or one of us, and I would do the same shit for you.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, exactly, doesn't matter.
This sends Adam into a rage that only intensifies when Jess puts a finger down for stealing $800 from him, which... damn, $800. As Adam bitches about his friends being so fucked up, man, Blair sends Mitch a text asking him to ease up on Adam because he's drunk and pissed off, and it's not the first time he's gotten drunk and pissed off. Jess is heartbroken when Laura asks which one of them asked to trade Jess's life for theirs. Laura gives them 30 seconds this time, and when Jess asks if Blair did it, Adam tries to insinuate that it was possibly her, and sarcastically notes that she always tells the truth, doesn't she, Mitch? Shit hits the fan when Adam finally owns up to being the guilty party, and Jess cries telling Adam that she hates him, and Adam decides to get even with Mitch and Blair.
You know what? Fuck this. Hey, I got an idea. Hey, Billy, why don't you lay off? I got this one. Easy one.
So when Adam asks if any of them have had sex, Blair, at the very last second, reluctantly admits to Mitch that she is not the Virgin Mary he thought she was, and that it was his best friend Adam who swiped her V-card. Blair breaks down in tears and apologizes to Mitch, declaring that she loves him, and that it was another drunken mistake. But now it's time for Mitch to get his revenge, and he outs Adam as both a rapist who roofies people and forces them to terminate the pregnancy afterward. Obviously, this isn't funny, but it's darkly comedic how it starts off with one bomb drop and then they just quadruple down, like Andy forced her to get an abortion. Like, holy shit. What? And I only bring that up because I do feel the women in this movie are treated far worse for their sins than Adam is for being a rapist who forced someone to get a abortion. Like, it's Mitch who brings this up, not Laura, and that's interesting to me. We now have about 15 minutes left of the film. Mitch is both heartbroken and infuriated when Laura uploads a video of Blair and Adam having sex and shows it to the class. Adam threatens Billy 227 and says he's gonna kill them. So Laura puts him in his place by faxing him a letter that he isn't allowed to show anyone, and Blair receives the same note. Mitch has Laura intended because she's a messy ass bitch, thinks they're both harboring another secret, and says he's gonna sign off. Blair and Adam beg him not to because she doesn't want him to die. He gives her 1 minute to say what she wants, and she admits that they almost did it again to see if there was something more. And then he asks her to show him the note. Blair tries to convince him that he doesn't want to see the note, but when he threatens to leave again, she shows the note, which states that if she shows it, Adam will die, and we watch Adam shoot himself in the face. As Jess and Blair both sob and Mitch puts his head down feeling guilty, the tamest free life cams ad that I've ever seen pops up on her computer, with Blair making a star appearance toward the end. Put a pin in that. Blair tries to save everyone by entering chat roulette and begging people to call the police for Jess, who is now next on Laura's hit list after she refuses to play the bonus round, which the only reason she didn't is because Blair told her not to, which was just really stupid. Like, why did you tell her to do that after you just saw 2 of your friends die for not listening to Laura? She gets someone to call, but it's too late, and poor Jess is fried with her own flat iron. Laura uploads a meme of her being killed saying, "Looks like she finally shut the fuck up." The lights cut out for Blair and Mitch, and Laura asks one of them to confess to posting the video. Mitch and Blair declare that it wasn't them, but they for some reason keep forgetting that Laura literally knows everything, so Laura private messages her on Facebook asking why she's protecting Mitch, and that she knows she doesn't want to do this. After some typing and retyping and some backspacing, he finally just tells her that it was him, and Mitch stabs himself in the eye, and Blair cries and screams as Laura plays music and tells Blair that there's just one more thing. Blair tries to convince Laura that she still cares about her and that she's sorry they drifted apart, but Laura says there's more to the story and uploads an extended version of the infamous video to Blair's account, with the ending showing that it was, plot twist, Blair who recorded the video. Blair cries and says she's sorry as people flood the comment section telling her to unalive herself and that she's gonna go to hell for this. And if only they just ended it there. Instead, the worst ending to a horror movie I've ever seen happens. Blair's laptop slams down and a demonic Laura comes at her. The end. So now that the recap is done, let's go back to my statement about Unfriended being a misunderstood movie. What I meant was, many of the people on sites like Letterboxd and even some film critics who didn't like this movie or felt it was silly didn't seem to pay attention as much as they were supposed to with a movie like this. Seeing comments like, why didn't they just call the police? Why didn't they just shut off their computers? Where are their parents? Why doesn't Blair know how to use a computer? Why is there so much clicking and typing? These comments were frustrating to read because the movie actually answers all of those questions. For one, reducing what happens in this film to just clicking and typing is kind of disrespectful because, for one, it's a computer movie. You knew that when you decided to watch it. You knew it was a movie that takes place on a computer screen, so why are you bothered by the clicking and typing? That's what you do on a computer. You type things and click on stuff. I know because I've been using computers since I was a child. Also, as I said earlier, she's not just clicking on random sites. Everything we see on Blair's computer is relevant to the story. When she goes to Facebook, we see the RIP Laura Barnes community. We see photos that reveal to us that Blair and Laura were once friends. So her going to Facebook adds context to the story. Her conversations with Mitch are extremely vital. When Mitch sends her the Laura call-out video she posted before her death, we get some insight into what was going on with Laura, like her having family issues. If you pay attention to what Blair almost types, she kind of alludes to Laura possibly experiencing sexual trauma from her uncle. Earlier, when Blair tries to memorialize Laura's Facebook page, she goes to an article from the Fresno Star that reported on Laura's death. And if you pause, you learn a lot about Laura and the other characters from this article. We learn that the school neglected to reprimand those who were harassing and bullying Laura, and that she, along with her bullies, are theater kids. It says, quote, "The Federal Civil Rights Office is investigating based on charges that Laura was bullied through social media sites like Twitter and Facebook by her theater class peers." Further down, there's a section where they mention that Laura was fat-shamed by many of her bullies, and that she struggled with an ED. One of the biggest details we see is that Laura attempted suicide 2 years before she died. So we know that what led Laura to that place again in 2013 is not solely from one embarrassing video, but a multitude of other factors that were undoubtedly exacerbated by the video. That is how screen life movies typically are. It needs your full and undivided attention in order for you to understand the story in its entirety. These kinds of movies can be rewarding upon rewatch because you often notice things you didn't before each time. Screen life movies have to be organic in how they present certain information. It's not like a traditional movie where we'd probably get a bunch of flashbacks like with Mob, my other favorite bad movie. Screen life films, like found footage movies, have to lean more into realism than traditional storytelling. And I think Unfriended does a good job of naturally giving important context. Some people say, why didn't they call the police? Gee, I don't know, because when Adam did call the police after Val was killed, Laura, I guess, either possessed the 911 dispatcher or that is her on the phone telling him not to hang up.
I said, don't hang up.
Who did you call?
Fuck! It's this fucking asshole!
It is made very clear from at least 20 minutes in that no matter what they try to do to get out of this situation, Laura will be there to interfere if they try to hang up or leave.
Guys?
Whatever he's doing, okay, it can wait, okay? We gotta get
Guys, I can hear you. He can hear you. He turn your mics on.
Yeah.
I tried to hang up on this thing, it wouldn't let me.
You take turns?
We see that Laura is able to cut off their electricity, and we see her controlling things on Blair's computer, which explains why Blair doesn't know how to use a computer. So to also answer why don't they just shut off their computers, well, because they know they're gonna die if they do. Why was that so confusing to people? Val hung up, and then she died. Ken tried to boot her out with an antivirus program, and then he got his throat slit by a blender. It actually does make a ton of sense why they don't call the police, why they don't turn off their computers. Where were their parents? Well, during one of her and Mitch's conversations, we learned that their dads are out together drinking. We don't exactly know where everyone else's parents are, but that's also just teen media, you guys. Maybe because I consume a lot of teen shows and movies, so this doesn't always bother me, although it is fun to joke about, but like, parents are almost always non-existent in teen media. Have you seen Grease? Have you seen Riverdale? There is not one parent that appears in Grease, and I think that is fucking hilarious. With screen life movies, you do need to be willing to suspend your disbelief to some extent. And unlike most found footage movies, screen life movies such as Unfriended, where the entire film takes place in one night and never cuts to a different point in time, is a lot more believable, at least to me. Everything plays out in real time. This fateful Skype call is over an hour. People saying the pacing is bad is weird to me because the movie is pretty short. And if you take the time to read and pay attention to all the clicking and typing, you'll see that it does kind of get right to the point as soon as it starts and provides you with the information you need to understand what's going on. Not everyone likes slow burns, and that's okay. But just because you don't enjoy quieter, chill movies that slowly build suspense in a non-traditional storytelling way doesn't make that form of storytelling any less valid, nor does it make it stupid. I don't necessarily think all Screen Life films are perfect. In fact, I don't think any of them are. But I admire and appreciate the creativity of them. If you can keep me engaged while watching someone on a computer for an hour, that's something, and shouldn't be discounted because it sounds silly or is sometimes a bit far-fetched. And even judging it for that reason is strange because that's most horror films too. Get Out even is an absurdist horror movie, and while that is a completely different genre of horror, all horror has some level of fantastical elements to them. I also came across some comments of people saying the movie is just an ad for Skype, and someone even referred to the screen that we see as fake, which is again, not giving the movie credit where it is due. The director said that it was a real computer screen, and it does look pretty real to what I assume Apple computers looked like at the time. The movie feels more lived in because it uses real websites like Google and Facebook and YouTube. Even Laura Barnes' Facebook account is real and is still up on the internet. The YouTube videos they upload would certainly be taken down instantly if this were real life, but at least it's not like some low-budget movies where the play button is visible and the video scrub bar is going super fast and doesn't sync with the actual video. I appreciate the Teen Wolf tab too because the actress who plays Blair was apparently in that show, so that's a pretty fun inside joke. I think we owe Unfriended along with The Den and The Collingswood Story for paving the way for other great Screen Life movies like Searching or Host. As someone who has always appreciated indie movies and films with non-traditional storytelling, it's not surprising that these movies would eventually become some of my favorites. But we haven't answered the most important question of all. Who was Laura Barnes? And was she a big bully who deserved what she got? Laura Barnes is a mystery because she actually doesn't appear in the film that much. We see one clip of her speaking, another one of her just looking at the camera holding cards as music plays, and we see photos of her on social media sites. But we don't know exactly what Ken is referring to when he says she was a big bully. When Laura posts the text exchange between her and Val before she died, the one where Val said she should unalive herself, we see that Laura apologized to her for being mean. So I suppose you could deduce that Ken was correct, and some people do, and even felt it was ridiculous that they were being made to empathize with Laura when she was also a bully. People do this thing where they feel like if someone who was bullied has also bullied others, they are not worthy of sympathy or empathy. When it comes to Ken, I don't find it hard to believe that maybe Laura did bully him because he is fat, and weight is one of the main reasons kids are bullied, although people don't really like to mention that fact when they talk about bullying. However, when Mitch sends Blair the YouTube video as evidence that Ken wasn't wrong, I'm a little skeptical. How is her making a video calling out the people who have been relentlessly bullying her mean that she deserved what she got? The fact that we learn later that Mitch was the one who posted the video makes this text exchange a little suspect. It's not uncommon for bullies to try and paint their victims as not so innocent and dismiss whatever they've experienced. The thing is, we don't know what Laura did. We don't know what she did if she was a bully. What we do know is that Blair filmed her former friend in one of the most horrifying moments of her life up until that point. Her boyfriend then posted it, and they, along with their other friends, created sock puppet accounts to harass Laura on social media, along with probably the entire school. Even if Laura was a bully, what does that say about them? That to me is one of the main parts of this movie that I think is ahead of its time. Laura's bullies harassed her while remaining anonymous to most outsiders. And if we've learned anything from social media over the past 20 years, is that it's really easy to create harassment campaigns against people to an extreme degree in a way where the people behind it don't usually have to deal with the consequences of their actions. And the harassment can go completely unnoticed by the people around them. And they benefit from the fact that many people do not take online harassment very seriously. Something many people commented after the infamous video was posted were cruel statements, urging her to end her own life. This is not unrealistic, and it exemplifies how empowered and shameless people are on the internet. How that shamelessness allows them to easily send death threats to people and tell them to unalive themselves. Things many of them would definitely never say to that person's face. Unfriended is not just some silly movie about a Facebook ghost. It is a reflection of us and our society and how the internet has turned some people into absolute monsters. It should be noted that the cyberbullying panic of the 2010s has been debated as kind of a moral panic promulgated by exceptional stories of teenagers who unalive themselves after relentless bullying from their peers online. That's why I said that I like the fact that we learned that Laura has a history of struggling with mental health issues. Because when someone unalives themselves, it's never because of just one thing. It's typically a bunch of things slowly mounting on top of each other like a clothes pile until it falls over. Now, if I am to offer some criticism that I feel is way more valid than just, why didn't they just shut off the computer? I would say that Laura's revenge plan feels very one-sided. I am not here to completely defend Blair because she's a woman. Blair definitely sucks, and it's incredible watching how deceitful she is throughout this entire thing. She knows she recorded that video, and yet she stays super quiet about it until the very end. Laura even gives her 45 seconds to confess, but she simply cannot just own up to her part in all of this. So, to be clear, this is not exactly a defense of Blair, but I do think she has done the dirtiest. All three girls are eventually humiliated on their social media profiles with pictures meant to make them look unflattering as to attract negative attention from their Facebook friends. Embarrassing photos of Val are uploaded because she told Laura to unalive herself. And Blair not only is exposed as being the camera person, but Laura also puts out a sex tape of her and Adam on YouTube. Also, don't forget the free live cams ad, which features footage of Blair having cyber sex with her boyfriend and undoing her shirt. Listen, she might suck, but she is still a teenager. Mind you, Adam is a full-on predator, and he does not receive the same treatment. On a lesser note, he took a picture of himself in bed with Blair as she was asleep after they fucked. That's really gross. Yes, they all die, so they are all punished to some extent, but it's only the girls who get exposed online and are slut-shamed by the narrative of the movie.
Never have I ever had sex. Oh, there goes my finger. Hey, Jess, you only need to put down 1, not 50.
Fuck you, Adam.
And I don't quite like that. It is in some ways sadly realistic in the ways women are conditioned to treat each other, especially at that age. Many women do have internalized misogyny and will go harder against women than men who have done worse things. And men, at least from what I saw when I was in high school, were just as participatory in petty girl drama as the girls were, but never received the same amount of hate. And we see that in this movie. Yes, Blair recorded the video, which was wrong, but Mitch is the one who posted it. It just sucks that the movie seems to agree that it is Blair who deserves the worst punishment for not only being a lying slut, but for also abandoning her childhood friend. If I could change anything about this movie, I'd make it more of a revenge thriller. Instead of killing them, just expose all of their secrets and force them to answer for what they did and why they did it. There are parts of Unfriended that can feel silly, like the unexplained forum post that Blair keeps being brought back to. The entire page just tells us what we are to expect and what Blair must do if she wants this to stop. I think what makes it more creepy than silly though is the fact that it keeps being the first thing that comes up when she Googles things that have nothing to do with it. Laura wants her to see this, and this is her pushing Blair to be honest. The movie is really smart in how it fools us into thinking that Blair was just an innocent bystander by making almost everyone else a blatant asshole. It subverts the final girl trope by manipulating us into thinking that she will survive, but she doesn't. After Laura posts the full video on her account, she tells Blair that what she's done will live here forever. And if there's anything about this movie that ages like fine wine, it is that. The internet is forever, and it never forgets your mistakes. We watch these friends on a Skype call connecting in a way that reminds us how the internet can bring people together, even if they're not physically together. But Laura comes in to also remind us that when it comes to the internet, there's a thin line between love and hate. When you consider the amount of loving, kind, and concerning comments she received after her tragic death, there is no one in this movie who would understand that better than her.